Okay, so before we even get started, did you see Punjab basically redraw its whole political map overnight?
Oh, we're going there first. I am Aditya. By the way, welcome to Newspresso. It's Sunday, May 31st, 2026.
And I'm Nisha. Yeah, we're definitely going there first because that result night was electric.
AAP winning 958 out of 1,977 wards is not a small story. They came out dominant across 8 municipal corporations, 75 municipal councils, and 19 Nagar Panchayats.
And the spread is what makes it interesting. Congress had 397, SAD 192, BJP 172, and independents even grabbed 251. That's a messy political picture, not just a clean sweep.
Right. And in places like Mohali, Bathinda, Barnala, Moga, and Batala, AAP looked strong enough that you can see why people are already talking about 2027.
Though the fine print matters, Pathankot and Abohar complicate the story. BJP taking Abohar's 50 wards, Congress holding Kapurthala in another cluster. So it's not like one party swallowed the whole state.
Exactly. Local polls can hint at momentum, but they don't automatically become assembly wins. Still, it gives AAP a very loud argument.
And Bhagwant Mann clearly wants it framed that way. Free electricity, better schools, new jobs, development politics. That's the pitch.
The opposition, of course, says the ruling party used official sway. AAP denies that. And now everyone is already staring at 2027 like it's around the corner.
Okay, shifting gears from state politics to something way more bureaucratic and weirdly stressful.
This one has that classic wait, what does the policy actually mean energy. USCIS had people worried it was basically telling green card applicants to leave the US while their cases were pending.
Yeah, and that would be terrifying for families, especially people who've already built lives here, have jobs here, kids here, all of that.
The key clarification is that it's not a blanket mandate. Officers can decide case by case whether someone should pursue a foreign-based processing route.
Which is a lot less blunt than the first version sounded. But the confusion came from language that made it sound like pending cases could just get sent abroad.
And critics immediately pointed out the practical fallout. Skilled workers, students, families all potentially disrupted. Not exactly a small administrative detail.
What I keep thinking about is the human side. One of the stories highlighted couples under real stress, especially when there's a newborn involved and both people are trying to stay together.
Yeah, that's the part that makes the policy feel less abstract. The government says it's trying to stop people from slipping into the shadows if applications are denied.
But the system is backlog heavy. So what matters now is how officers actually use this discretion, because that's where people's lives get affected.
Right. It's one thing to say case by case. It's another to know what that means when thousands of cases are sitting there.
And now, from paperwork stress to something much darker.
Okay, this one actually got to me. The Supreme Court is dealing with a case from a 2010 tragedy in Chhattisgarh where a woman died at her in-laws' home within 3 years of marriage.
And the court refused relief to the brother-in-law while upholding convictions under 304B, 306 and 498 AIPC. That is a very serious message.
Justice Nagaratna's question, why boys marry and then insult the bride and her family, is blunt but honestly necessary.
Because the court wasn't treating it like a family issue. It was treating it like coercion, cruelty and abuse tied to dowry demands.
Exactly. And the evidence mattered too. Medical findings linked the hanging death to the surrounding cruelty and dowry pressure. And both the trial court and high court had already tied that cruelty closely to the death.
What stood out to me is the court saying these abuses persist even among educated families. That really shuts down the excuse that education alone fixes everything.
Yeah, and they basically said delays in appeals or FIRs shouldn't protect offenders. The whole point was deterrence.
It's one of those rulings where the legal language is also social language. This will not be tolerated.
And that lands hard because it reminds you this is still happening in matrimonial homes.
Alright, from the courtroom to a very different kind of mess, and this one is grim.
Pune and Pimpri Chinchwad had dozens of police and excise staff suspended after deaths linked to spurious liquor. That's a huge signal that something went badly wrong in enforcement.
And the part that stays with you is how many lives it touched. The reported death toll kept changing across briefings. 12, 13, 14, 15, even higher.
Yeah, and most of the deaths were concentrated in Phugewadi and Hadapsar. The pattern itself tells you this wasn't random.
Authorities say methanol-tainted liquors involved, and they believe it was part of a larger illegal trade network.
The probe also keeps shifting hands. City police, Pimpri Chinchwad police, then Maharashtra CID in several reports. That alone tells you they're still piecing together the whole chain.
And arrests or detentions also varied in the reporting, from 8 to as many as 22 people. One bootlegger, Yogesh Wankhede, is named in some reports.
The Chief Minister called it very serious and promised strict action. But opposition voices are already saying the government was lax on enforcement.
Which makes sense when the victims are often daily wage workers in poorer neighborhoods. This is not some abstract crime story. It's poison moving through a real community.
And that's the terrible part. A hidden network can do enormous damage before anyone fully sees it.
Okay, moving from public safety to public anxiety in a different form. Exams. The Supreme Court really came down hard on the National Testing Agency over repeated NEET-UG paper leaks.
Hard is putting it mildly. The court basically said ad hoc fixes are not enough. It wants a real accountability plan.
And specifically, it wants the exact duty bearers identified, not vague promises. Actual responsibility.
That makes sense because if you're trying to restore trust in an exam taken by lakhs of students and families, we'll do better isn't much of a plan.
The centre says the Prime Minister's personally supervising it, and there are hints of year-to-year reforms and new security measures.
The NTA is also defending itself with tech changes, computer-based NEET-UG from next year, multi-session testing later, expert committee recommendations.
The court, though, compared the NTA's ad hoc approach with UPSC's leak-free track record. That's a pretty pointed comparison.
Very pointed. Basically, learn from the model that actually works.
And now there's a blueprint demanded for NEET-UG 2027. Structural, physical and intellectual reforms, plus CCTV retention, mock drills, forensic checks.
What I hear in all this is pressure to stop treating exam integrity like a patchwork problem.
Yes, because when this breaks, it doesn't just break a system, it breaks confidence for students.
Alright, enough institutions on fire for one stretch. Sports?
Please, yes, I need a different kind of tension. Okay, this one was emotional. Vaibhav Sooryavanshi wiping away tears after RR's 7-wicket exit, that image says a lot.
And the season before that image was massive. A 96 of 47 in the playoffs at 15 years old. That's wild.
It really is. And he had already reached 1,000 IPL runs in 440 balls. Fastest by an Indian, second fastest overall.
You can see why the hype is so intense, but the team angle matters too. Shubman Gill's 104 for Gujarat Titans was the difference, and RR's late surge wasn't enough.
Riyan Parag praised the 96, but also said others needed to step up around him. That's fair, honestly.
Yeah, because one brilliant innings doesn't equal a complete team performance. Cricket is rude like that.
It really is. And then the celebrity reaction kicked in. Amitabh Bachchan with the playful youth line, Tendulkar praising his bat swing.
Of course, the internet went into full fan mode after that.
There was even chatter in Jharkhand about possible honors for him as a state health ambassador, which is such a specific kind of modern sports fame.
And the numbers are ridiculous. 776 runs in the season, 72 sixes, multiple high-pressure knocks. The kid's already building a file of highlights.
The emotional part is that you can feel both things at once, the tears and the promise.
Absolutely. And while we're in sports, there's a very different kind of comeback story.
The Supreme Court telling the Wrestling Federation of India that Vinesh Phogat can compete in the Asian Games selection trials, that's a big deal.
Especially because she's a new mother and had been fighting to return after maternity leave. That makes the whole thing feel much bigger than a selection dispute.
The court didn't stop the trials, which were already underway, and said she should be allowed to participate on May 30-31.
The Delhi High Court had already said the WFI policy was exclusionary, basically making the point that motherhood shouldn't block a top athlete.
And the Federation argued this was its domain, warning against judicial overreach, which, to be fair, is the kind of argument sports bodies always make.
But the court seemed to to balance that with fair play and global norms, including anti-doping and wearables reporting.
And the fact that IOA and sports ministry officials are watching the trials for transparency says this isn't happening in a vacuum.
What's still important is that weight categories and maternity-related rules are going to keep shaping these conversations.
Right. This isn't just about one wrestler. It's about how the system handles athletes returning after maternity leave.
And that brings us to the last sports story, which honestly is a very different kind of cricket disaster.
Lucknow Super Giants finishing last and Pant stepping down as captain. That's a rough ending to a big money experiment.
I mean, at this point, the price tag was already doing a lot of emotional labor. 27 crore in the 2025 auction is not subtle.
No, not at all. And then the team only managed 4 wins from 14 games in 2026.
Plus, Pant's own batting dipped 312 runs this season, 581 across 2 seasons as captain. That's not the return anyone wanted.
The franchise said it accepted his request to be relieved immediately, and now it's all about rebuilding.
Tom Moody talking about reaching the best standards is basically the cleanest way to say we need a reset.
And reports have already floated trade or release ideas, which tells you the next move is still open.
That's the thing with franchise cricket. One season you're the face of the project, the next season everyone's asking who the next leader is.
It really does move fast. And after all that, it's kind of nice to end on a match where the team actually looked in control.
Yes, New Zealand. Clean, efficient, and honestly a breath of fresh air.
New Zealand made 490 for 8 declared, and that total had some serious backbone. Tom Blundell's 186, Rachan Ravindra's 121, Dean Foxcroft's 98.
That is such a satisfying batting card, and Ireland just never really recovered.
Nathan Smith was huge with 640 in the first innings, then Blair Tickner added a fifer in the second. That's proper domination.
Ireland made 179 in the first innings, got asked to follow on, and then ended up 232 all out in the second. Stephen Doheny and Lachlan Tucker resisted a bit, but not enough.
Tom Latham called it a really pleasing performance, which feels deserved.
And it's not just about one match, right? This was a warm-up for the England tour.
Exactly. Lords, the Oval, Trent Bridge in June. So this was New Zealand saying, we are ready.
I like that it was a fast, disciplined, pace-heavy win. Very direct.
Yeah, no drama, just wickets. Occasionally, I wish every story could be that simple.
Sadly, the world disagrees.
Alright, that's us for today on Newspresso. Thanks for hanging out with us and stay tuned. We'll be back soon.
Bye for now, and seriously, stay tuned with Newspresso.